Hey there, and welcome to this training all about the top legal mistakes that I see being made most often online by online entrepreneurs. So in case we haven't met already, I'm Sam Vander Wielen, owner and founder of Sam Vander Wielen LLC, where I help women entrepreneurs who are coaches, service providers, and all types of creatives learn how to legally protect and grow their online businesses with my DIY legal templates and my Fearlessly Legal Ultimate Bundle. So in other words, I help women learn how to get paid, send contracts, make sure you can protect your content, form your business, and act right online so we can avoid legal trouble as much as humanly possible. So with that, I love talking about legal mistakes that I see online just because these things that this top 6 things I'm going to be sharing with you today are things that are easily fixable, and they're just little tweaks that hopefully after you hear about them today, you'll make some changes moving forward and we'll avoid legal hot water. So let's hop in and get started. Basically, I'm going to walk us through these 6 legal mistakes that you can avoid, talk a little bit about how you can shift them, like why they're a mistake and how you can shift them. And then at the end, I'll share a little bit with you about how we can connect and get to know one another a little bit more. So let's get started. So number 1, first and foremost, the top legal mistake that I see being made online is just waiting too long, right? And I mean this in all different kinds of ways, because people wait too long to register their business, too long to get a contract, too long to get business insurance, too long to just legitimize and clean up the back end of their businesses. I work with all kinds of women. So I work with women who are in the very beginning of starting their businesses and haven't worked with any clients. And I have a lot of clients who come to me with their head down and say, I've already made 60, 70, maybe even 100,000 or more in my business, and I just haven't gotten this legal stuff done yet, right? And I'm not sharing this because I want to shame anybody. I am not that kind of girl. So what I always say is, once you know better, you do better. But what I'm really talking about today are you hanging on to these myths that are perpetuated online, typically by non-lawyers, which is something I'm going to talk about a little bit later, about the waiting game. So for example, one legal mistake I see being made online when it comes to waiting is people will say, I'm waiting to get an LLC until I make more money. I'm waiting to get business insurance until I have more clients. I'm waiting to get a legitimate contract until I have X number of clients. And the reason that that is not a good plan for you in your business long term is because legal doesn't really have any sort of like pass or get out of jail free card for how much money you make or how many clients you have. So you run the same legal risk whether you have 1 client, 100 clients, you're making $5, $100,000. And of course that risk increases as you make more money. And of course it increases the more numbers you bring in and the more number of clients that you work with. Of course that you're increasing your chances of any legal issues, but don't be freaked out by that, because the way that I teach my system, and it's a very simple, like step-by-step process, you get things in place the right way so that you don't have to worry about that stuff. You worry about growing your business, this stuff will be in place, you'll have the foundation set, and if something happened, which is just an inevitability as we grow our businesses, you will be protected. It won't affect you personally, financially, or your business, right? So with that, there are just so many myths about waiting to register your business, waiting to get protected, all of that kind of stuff. And I want to challenge you today, now that you're here and you've obviously, your interest was piqued when you saw something about legal. I want you to really sit down and think about where your business is now and the fact that it needs legal protection. If you're putting yourself out there online, if you're working with people already, definitely, but you don't have to be working with people or have a profitable business to get legally legit, as I call it, right? So that is legal mistake number 1. Legal mistake number 2 that I see being made most online are the what I call copy and pasted or borrowed from a friend legal policies and contracts. Now, whether you've copy and pasted because you've gone on somebody's website who you think does something similar to you, and so you've just swiped her website policies or her contract from a program you were in, or you legitimately borrowed from a friend, or you just got sent a contract one time and you took it without permission, this is really important that we talk about this today, because there are basically 2 parts of this mistake that are really serious. the first, I guess, most serious issue here is that it is technically intellectual property theft, right? It is misappropriation of intellectual property. And so when you take somebody's policies on their site without permission, or you take somebody's contract or something like that, you face intellectual property theft charges on two different people. Not only the person whose website you've now taken it from, but from the lawyer who also wrote the document. Given, for example, if it's somebody like me where someone bought my legal template and someone else goes on one of my client sites and steals it, then that makes me be able to go after the person who steals it and my client too. So we don't want to be in that position, of course. But I actually think the bigger issue here is that by you doing that, first of all, we can talk energetically in a completely separate training about like what that does and what you're saying to yourself about how valuable you are and how much you value your business and trust that you're going to make it work. But the other part of this is just that you don't have the pieces in place that necessarily apply to you. And so while you might think, okay, I went on this person's website and she does the same thing as me or something very similar, therefore her policies will work for me too. That is not necessarily true, because there are a lot of things we're assuming here, right? We're assuming, for one, that she has legit policies on her site or that her contract's any good. And we don't know, as I always say, since I sell fill in the blank legal templates, I always say we don't know where her blanks were, right? So we don't know where she customized it. And what's really important about that, or about the attorney who drafted it for her, maybe from scratch, is that you have your own version of that. Because here's the thing, a lot of stuff when it comes to legal, yes, there are tons of rules, like hardline rules about things we can and cannot do or should do, but there are also a lot of opportunities for choice. And so you get to choose, for example, what your refund policy is. You get to choose what your payment procedures are. You get to choose what your content sharing policy and affiliate policy is. Those are all things that are left up to you. So as a business owner, would you really want to go into somebody else's business and just adopt their way of doing it just because? Is her way of doing it necessarily the right way? No. Is her way the only way? For sure it is not. So you have this opportunity as a business owner. But what I see in reality, in like that just comes up day to day for me, is that after working with thousands of women now, I can't tell you how many of emails I've received from people who went about getting their legal protection this way and then came to me saying, I had copy and pasted these policies, I just assumed they were fine because she had them, and then it turns out it was missing this like one key thing, or when somebody asked me a question about it, I didn't know what to say because I didn't understand what any of it meant. Right? And so that's okay, but if you've been tempted to go down this path or you've gone down that path, it's okay, but it's time to reroute and get you your own thing and legitimize your own business and take the opportunity to set your own business policies. So with that, let's go on to number 3. Legal mistake number 3 that I see most often is that people are taking non-lawyer advice online. So kind of based on the last thing that I said, it was like, I see a lot online of people saying things like, you know, what'd you do for your LLC? Or what kind of business insurance did you get? And I'll see this in like a Facebook group or something, and all these people will respond. And then the person who asked the question will just run off and go do that thing, right? And so in that question and in those answers, we're just assuming that those people did it right. And we're assuming that their way is the only way. We're assuming that if somebody has an LLC, that means it's right for us. We're assuming that they got the right kind of business insurance, because most of the time people don't. And they think that they did, but they did not. And so it's really important that we don't go to those people. And I think in general, when it comes to online business, you want to have your expert, right, in different categories of your business. So I want you to either find a lawyer local to you, or if it's somebody like me, and if it's me that you can trust and you want to be in my community and learn more about how to legally protect your business, then great, I'm here to support you. But you should find the lawyer person that you feel comfortable with, and you should take the lawyer information and tips from that person, right? Doesn't mean that other people don't know what they're talking about, but I think when it comes to legal stuff and tax stuff and financial stuff, it's really important to have those trusted experts that you can go to. You're going to ignore all of the Facebook commentary that you see from all the non-lawyers thinking that they know what to do. And you're going to ignore all the terrible tax advice that I see online that could get you in serious trouble. It is so important not only for you to avoid trouble, but here's the thing, it is also a giant waste of your time, and I don't want you wasting any of your time that you don't have to waste, right? Time is precious in our business and in life in general, and I want you to spend that time actually doing something to move your business forward. And so going on a Facebook group and reading information from non-lawyers is just a waste of your time. Instead, you'll be able to just go to the person you trust, get the information, and move on. Get back to those revenue generating activities that you need to do in your business to grow and to profit, right? Okay. So legal tip number 4 about the mistake I see most often online is that people think that because they get an LLC, which stands for limited liability company, that's enough and they can just move on and be done with it. So an LLC is not a checkbox, right? So as I always say, you can't just go get an LLC and then say, I'm done. That would be nice. But it doesn't have to be stressful either. It's not something that's going to take a lot of your time or maintenance or anything like that. However, it does need to be part of the rewiring in your brain of how you approach your business, how you talk about what you do. And what I mean by that is that an LLC is just one type of business entity. So there are other business entities like sole proprietorship, partnership, corporation, these kinds of things that you've probably heard of. But the big key and the benefit to having an LLC is that it separates you personally from your business. So that is crucial because we don't want you to be legally vulnerable if something happens in your business or with a client, right? We want you to be able to be completely separate. Like your business is here and you are here. And if someone sues you, if you have an LLC, they're just doing your business. And that means that your personal finances, your personal assets are not at risk. And that's crucial, right? But here's the thing. A lot of people just stop there. They kind of get the LLC and then that's it, right? But what I teach women is that you actually have to act like an LLC because there's this thing called piercing the corporate veil. And I'm not going to get into it because it's a bunch of legal mumbo jumbo and I know that it will give you a solid nap. And as much as I would love to help you with that, I'm not going to do it. So what that basically means is that if you don't act like an LLC, if and when someone sued you, they would have the opportunity to make the argument that the LLC was essentially a veil, right? That you were really a person, you were acting like a person, and therefore they should be able to also go after you personally. It's something that when I was a corporate attorney, practiced for 5 years in the Philadelphia area where I'm from, it was something that I want to say forced, but I didn't get to make these decisions. And so it was something that I had to do as a lawyer, as a litigator, and it's something that we were successful in quite often because of this exact issue. And I worry a little bit with online businesses that I see these, going back to the last tip, these myths getting perpetuated online about everybody just being like, yeah, just go get an LLC. And there's really no like follow-up information or education around that, about what it means, about how do you act like an LLC, how do you carry yourself as an LLC online. And so it worries me that sometimes I see people who come through my community and will say, oh, I already have an LLC, so like I'm fine, I don't need any of this other stuff. And that's really not the case, right? So you want to act like an LLC, which means having all of your documents in the name of your business insurance in the name of your business. Anywhere that your name is mentioned online, it should be your business name and have what's called the moniker, the LLC moniker at the end. You have to be really consistent. That's what I teach the women in my community, is how to be consistent across the board, how to talk about what you do and how you work with people in a way that shows that you are a business. And you can still be a personal brand, but you have a business at the end of the day. Okay, so tip number 5 is about trademarks. So this is something I hear about a lot because I get a lot of emails from people saying, hey Sam, I haven't started my business yet, or haven't even launched my website yet, or haven't launched my program yet, but I want to get a trademark, right? So trademarks are one type of intellectual property, and we get a trademark for things like, this is not an exhaustive list, but things like a logo, a name, a program name, a business name, a tagline, stuff like that. So people will often think that they have to get a trademark first before they start the thing. And of course you can, right? You don't have to necessarily start selling your program or anything like that. I just educate women as to whether or not that is a good decision for you, especially if you're using it as a roadblock to getting started, because you don't have to do it first. You can, but you can also do it once you get started. And there is so much that we could talk about. We could do a whole training just on trademarks. So please don't take any of this as advice as to whether or not to register a trademark. It's just that it's more complicated, and it shouldn't be something that holds you back. That's what I always say. I want you to get started. I want you to know if something's going to remain the name or the logo or whatever. I think I've changed my logo like 3 or 4 times in over 3 years. And then I want you to get started and start helping people. And if you've got something that's original to you and you want to go through the trademark process and you understand that it could take 12 to 18 months to hear back from the United States Patent and Trademark Office, then yes, maybe it's a good idea, right? And of course, there are so many benefits to registration. There are tons of benefits to registering a trademark or registering a copyright, but you also get protection without registering. Not as much, but you do get some, right? And that's really important for us to learn. That's something I dive deep about inside of my member community for my Ultimate Bundle members, because I want to make sure that you know that you do get some legal protection for just creating an original logo or original tagline or something like that. Okay, so the very last legal mistake I want to part with today is letting this legal stuff, after I've shared all this stuff with you today, letting this legal stuff scare you or keep you from building the best business that you can. I always call this watering down your business, because what I see most often is that women will water down their business, water down their program or their offerings or how they talk online, because you're scared that you're not legally protected, or you're just scared that there's like all this legal stuff and you get overwhelmed and you use that to kind of bury your head in the sand and back out of it. And this is a huge mistake, because burying your head in the sand and pretending like this doesn't exist is not going to be helpful, right? So it does exist, and it's just part of the fabric of our society, whether we like it or not. The way that especially our American legal system works is that people can pretty much sue anybody they want for anything. It's like the wild, wild west. But that is the way that it is. It also doesn't have to be scary. And packaged with like a lot of what else I've spoken with you about today, I think that it gets scarier because we listen to these non-lawyers, we listen to stories, we spend too much time on Google trying to be our own Google lawyer and Google doctor if you're like me. And we just kind of like gin it up a bit, and it doesn't need to be that hard. That's actually why I think my tip about not listening to non-lawyers and finding an expert that you trust is so important, because you can just take the information that you need and that's actually true from them, and then you don't have to spend a lot of time hearing about all this other stuff. You can excuse all the beeping going on in the background. My husband and I, we live in Philadelphia. We're temporarily in DC for the next 5 months now, and it's really loud here. the entrepreneur life. So with that, I don't want any of this stuff to scare you, just because I am here to support you. There are other people who are here to support you and help guide the way. It's also not something that has to take up a lot of time or energy. It's just something I want you to get done and then move forward. And please don't waste one moment after listening to this today thinking, oh my goodness, I should have had all of this stuff in place already. I'm doing X, Y, and Z. It's okay. We just want to move forward. There's really no use in us spending any time worrying about the fact that we haven't gotten this done yet. So with that, those are my top 6 legal mistakes that I see being made most often online. I hope that this was helpful today. I would absolutely love to connect with you on social. I'm most active on Instagram. I'm just at Sam Vander Wielen on Instagram. So please send me a DM. Let me know that you watched this today. Let me know what your number 1 takeaway is from this video. I would love to hear an action item you're going to put into place after watching this training, but I would really love to meet you there. And of course, you can learn more about my DIY legal templates and my Ultimate Bundle program on my website at samvanderwielen.com. So thanks so much for watching. I'll talk to you soon.